Let the world keep rushing if it wants to. You don't have to join it. You don't have to prove anything to a clock, a feed, a family story, or an old expectation that still lives in your chest. There is a quieter truth waiting underneath the noise, and it is simple. Your heart is not behind. You are right on time, right where you are. If you've been carrying that private sentence, "I'm late," I want you to set it down for just a moment, not to deny your longing, not to pretend you don't want more, only to rest your hands, only to stop squeezing your own life like it's a problem to solve. Let your attention touch something ordinary and real, the weight of your body being supported, the temperature of the air, a small sound that reminds you you're here. No need to make it dramatic, just enough to return to the room you're actually in instead of the timeline you've been running in your mind. You may have been measuring your days with invisible rulers. You may have been comparing your insides to other people's outsides. You may have been watching other lives look shiny and finished while yours feels unfinished, tender, still forming. And of course it hurts when you believe you are behind. Every moment feels like evidence. Every pause feels like failure. Every detour feels like a verdict. But listen, sweet one, a timeline is not a judge. It is only a tool, and many of us were handed tools that were never made for our hands. Sometimes the feeling of being behind is not about time at all. Sometimes it is about belonging. Sometimes it is about safety. Sometimes it is about the old fear that if you don't arrive fast enough, you won't be chosen. You won't be loved. You won't be allowed to rest. It is a heavy story to carry, and you can be compassionate with the part of you that believed it. Your heart does not run on deadlines. Your heart runs on readiness. Your heart runs on the kind of growth that is real, not performative. Your heart runs on the moment you finally become gentle with yourself and something inside you unclenches. So let's begin right here with a softer way to see your life. You are not late. You are living. There is a difference. You might think, but I can list all the places I should be by now. The job title, the relationship, the certainty, the confidence, the savings of energy, the sense of direction, and I won't argue with your desire. Desire is not the enemy. Desire is often your spirit's way of pointing toward what matters. What we're releasing is the cruelty. What we're releasing is the idea that you must arrive on someone else's schedule to be worthy of love in the meantime. Because here is something gentle and true. Your worth is not a reward you earn at the finish line. Your worth is the beginning. Your worth is the ground you stand on while you learn. Let that land. I honor my pace. I honor my process. When you feel the pressure rise, notice what it says. It often sounds like, I should be farther. It often sounds like, everyone else has it figured out. It often sounds like, if I don't catch up, I'll be left behind. Those thoughts can feel so convincing because they are loud, but loud is not the same as true. Try this small swap, not as a magic spell, but as a kinder sentence you can live inside. I am building what lasts. Not what looks impressive in a snapshot, not what quiets other people's opinions for a week. What lasts. I am building what lasts, and what lasts is often built slowly. What lasts is often built privately. What lasts is often built after you've learned a few things the hard way. If you need a truth line to carry in your pocket, let it be this: the timeline is not a judge. Your life is not a test you are failing. Your life is a path you are walking, and paths have seasons. There are seasons where you sprint, there are seasons where you learn, there are seasons where you rest, there are seasons where you heal old patterns, there are seasons where you plant something you won't harvest for a while. None of that is behind. That is alive. Now let's speak gently about comparison, because comparison is one of the sharpest tools we use against ourselves without even noticing. Comparison is a lens, not reality. It narrows your view until you forget your own context. It makes someone else's chapter look like your deadline. It makes you forget what it cost you to get here. It makes you forget the invisible work you've been doing, growing boundaries, learning to listen to yourself, recovering your dignity, rebuilding trust, choosing better, choosing slower, choosing real. And sometimes, sweet one, the reason you feel behind is because your standards have been set by what can be seen. But so much of your life is not visible. Your courage is not always visible. Your restraint is not always visible. The days you showed up while you were tired are not always visible. The times you chose not to return to what harmed you, those victories are quiet, but they are victories. A highlight is not a whole life. If comparison visits you, you don't have to wrestle it to the ground. You can simply recognize it. Ah, that lens again. And then, instead of letting it decide your mood, you return to one truth about you. One thing you've learned, one thing you've survived, one thing you've softened, one way you've grown. Maybe it's this: you didn't give up when you could have. Maybe it's this: you're kinder now than you used to be. Maybe it's this: you can name what you need more clearly. Maybe it's this: you're learning to love without abandoning yourself. I return to my own life with tenderness. And if you want an image that doesn't turn your life into a race, think of the tide. The tide doesn't apologize for pulling back. It doesn't call itself behind because it isn't at the shore yet. It moves with a wisdom older than urgency. It returns when it returns, and it reshapes the coast simply by being consistent. You too are allowed to have a rhythm. You are allowed to have an ebb and a flow. You're allowed to have a season that looks quiet on the outside, while something inside you is reorganizing into truth. Here's a gentle question, and you don't have to answer it out loud. What if the version of you that feels behind is actually the version of you that has been carrying too much alone? Not lazy, not broken, just tired, just tender, just human. If you can meet that version of you with compassion, everything changes, because the moment you stop calling yourself late, you start calling yourself worthy, and worthy people take kinder steps. Now, let's come back to the simplest practice that helps when your mind starts time traveling. When the behind thought shows up, it usually pulls you into the future. It shows you images of regret. It shows you imagined conversations. It shows you doors closing. It shows you other people winning while you're stuck. And your body can feel that story like it's happening now. So we return to now, not because now is perfect, but because now is real. Now is a safe place to stand. You can come home through something very small, one color you can see, one sound you can hear, one sensation you can feel, the chair, the floor, your feet, the air moving in and out. You don't have to force calm, you only have to stop feeding the spiral with more future scenes. In this moment, I am here, I am held. And if you want 2 lines to repeat softly, as if you're placing a hand over your own heart, let them be these. I am not behind. I am becoming right on time. Let those words be a doorway. Becoming is not a lesser state. Becoming is sacred. Becoming is honest. Becoming means why. You are alive and still unfolding. Some people bloom early, some people bloom later, some people bloom in waves, some people bloom after the frost, after the storm, after the long season where everything looked still. There is nothing shameful about being a late bloomer. Sometimes the flower that opens later has stronger roots. Sometimes the life that takes longer has more truth in it. Slow can be sacred, and if your mind argues with that, let it argue. You do not have to win an argument to choose a kinder thought. You can simply decide, I will not make speed my God. I will not make urgency my proof. Because urgency can look like ambition, but it can also be fear wearing a fancy coat. Fear says, hurry or you'll miss it. Love says, breathe, choose what's real. My timing has meaning, even when I can't see it yet. Now I want to offer you something practical, something small enough to be real, not a grand reinvention, not a dramatic reset, a tiny habit of returning to yourself. Choose one moment you already have each day, something normal, tea, water, a shower, a commute. The first time you sit down, and let that moment become a quiet checkpoint where you remember, I am not behind. You might let it be as simple as saying, I am building what lasts. You might let it be as simple as asking, what is one kind step I can take today? You might let it be as simple as noticing one thing you did well yesterday, even if no one clapped. This is not about perfection. This is about relationship, your relationship with yourself. Because the truth is, many people don't feel behind because they lack talent or opportunity. They feel behind because they have been at war with themselves, and war steals time. Peace gives time back. Now let me tell you a short story, not as a lesson to swallow, but as a mirror you can hold gently. There was a woman named Mina. Mina was the kind of person who could listen deeply. She remembered birthdays. She showed up with soup when someone was sick. She had a quiet steadiness that other people leaned on, and yet, whenever she went home at night, a different voice would start talking. You're late, the voice would say. Look at them. They're engaged. They're promoted. They're traveling. They're posting wins. You're still figuring it out. Mina didn't say those words to anyone. She smiled at gatherings. She cheered for friends. She clapped at announcements. But inside, she felt like she was standing in the wrong line at the wrong counter, waiting for a life that wasn't being served. One evening, after another scroll that left her chest tight, Mina did something small. She didn't throw her phone away. She didn't announce a new era. She simply turned off the noise for an hour and sat with a cup of warm tea. And while she sat there, she wrote one sentence on a piece of paper. Life is not late. My life is mine. She put that paper where she would see it in the morning. The next day, the behind feeling showed up again, because feelings don't disappear just because you make one brave choice. But this time, Mina had a reply, not an argument, a reply. I hear you, she said to herself, and I am choosing a kinder story. She began to practice that. Every time her mind tried to turn someone else's timeline into a weapon, she returned to her sentence, my life is not late, my life is mine. And slowly, something changed. Not all at once, not like a movie montage, but in the way real change happens, in small moments that stack. She stopped saying yes to things that drained her just to feel busy. She started taking a class she had always been curious about, not because it would impress anyone, but because it made her feel alive. She reached out to one person who felt safe and told the truth. I've been hard on myself. She learned to rest without narrating it as failure. Months later, Mina still didn't have every answer, but the shame had loosened its grip. She felt more present. She felt more spacious inside her own days, and that spaciousness gave her clarity. It helped her see what she actually wanted, not what she thought would prove she was caught up. That's the quiet miracle. When you stop rushing your worth, you can finally hear your own wisdom. You don't have to be Mina. You don't have to copy her choices, but you can borrow her tenderness. You can borrow her sentence. You can give yourself permission to live a life that is yours. Now let's make a new inner contract together, not a contract with the world, a contract with you. Because one of the most painful habits is abandoning yourself the moment someone else looks ahead. The moment you see someone else's good news, you leave your own heart and start running after an image. No more, my dear. Here is the vow. I will not leave myself. I will not rush my own becoming into a performance. I will not turn my healing into homework. I will not punish my pace. I stay with myself. I don't leave. And what does staying look like? It can be very simple. It can look like catching the sentence, I'm behind, and responding, I am right here. It can look like choosing one gentle step instead of 10 frantic ones. It can look like celebrating progress that is invisible to everyone else. Sometimes staying looks like saying not today to a comparison spiral. Sometimes staying looks like saying yes to rest. Sometimes staying looks like saying, I need support without shame. Sometimes staying looks like saying, I'm proud of you to yourself in the mirror, even if you feel awkward. I am willing to be on my own side. If you only remember one thing from this time together, let it be this. You are not behind. You are in a season, and seasons are not failures. Let's gather what you've touched so far, gently, like collecting warm stones. You loosened the scoreboard. You remembered that the timeline is not a judge. You softened comparison and returned to your own context. You practiced coming back to now through something real. You honored slow growth and gave your becoming dignity. You chose a new contract. You will not leave yourself. That is not small. That is a new foundation. Now, I want to offer a few affirmations, not as a chant to force your feelings away, but as true sentences you can try on like a soft sweater. Take what fits, leave what doesn't. I am allowed to grow at my own pace. I am learning to trust my timing. I can be in transition and still be worthy. I release the belief that my value is measured by speed. I welcome the next step, not the whole staircase. I am right on time for my life. And because your heart is tender, let's speak to it directly. Sweet one, your heart has been doing brave work, even if no one saw it. Even if you didn't label it as progress, the moment you chose not to repeat an old pattern, you moved forward. The moment you paused before reacting, you moved forward. The moment you listened to your own needs, you moved forward. The moment you reached for kindness instead of criticism, you moved forward. Forward is not only a visible milestone. Forward is an inner shift. And sometimes the most important arrival is the day you stop treating yourself like a problem. You may still have goals, you may still have dreams, you may still want change. This is not a message to give up. This is a message to stop whipping yourself while you walk. A gentler pace does not mean no momentum. It means sustainable momentum. It means you can keep going without losing yourself. If fear tells you, but if I'm not hard on myself, I'll never improve, listen closely. Kindness is not laziness. Kindness is clarity. Kindness helps you see what's next without shrinking. You can be honest and gentle at the same time. And if you're in a moment where you truly feel stuck, where days blur and motivation feels far, let this be your permission. You don't have to solve your whole life tonight. You don't have to figure out the next 5 years. You only have to choose the next kind step. The next kind step might be drinking water. It might be sending one message. It might be cleaning one corner. It might be applying for one opportunity. It might be going to bed earlier. It might be forgiving yourself for being human. Small steps are not embarrassing. Small steps are how life is built. I am building what lasts. Now consider this. Sometimes you feel behind because you're actually becoming more discerning. You're not rushing into things that don't fit. You're not saying yes just to keep up. You're not attaching yourself to paths that would cost you your peace. That is wisdom, not lateness. There is a maturity that comes from waiting until something is true for you. There is a strength that comes from not forcing a door that isn't yours. And there is a quiet beauty in being the person who arrives with a whole heart, not a rushed one. You do not have to sprint into your future. You can walk with yourself. Let your life be a home you can live in, not a race you have to win. And when the world tries to make you feel late, when you see announcements, when you hear timelines, when you feel that old sting, come back to your 2 lines, like a steady handrail. I am not behind. I am becoming, right on time. You can say it in the kitchen. You can say it in the car. You can say it on the edge of sleep. You can say it when you're tempted to compare. You can say it when you're proud too, because pride deserves a place in your voice. I trust the pace of my unfolding. Now, I'll offer you a final blessing, the kind you might whisper over yourself like a soft blanket. May you release the cruel stopwatch. May you stop calling your season a failure. May you honor the quiet work you've been doing. May you remember that your worth is not postponed. May you feel a little more spacious inside your own life. And if no one has told you lately, let me tell you now, you are allowed to be here. You are allowed to be learning. You are allowed to be in progress. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to move slowly and still move forward. Your heart is not behind. Your heart is arriving faithfully. In each moment, you choose kindness over punishment. Before you go, let's speak to the specific kind of ache that hides underneath behind. It's not always about the calendar. Sometimes it's the fear that you've disappointed someone. Sometimes it's the fear that you disappointed yourself. Sometimes it's the belief that you had one chance and you missed it. That belief can sound so final, but life is rarely that final. Most lives are made of revisions. Most hearts learn in spirals. You revisit the same lesson, but you return with more awareness. You meet the same choice, but you meet it with more self-respect. You see the same pattern, but you catch it sooner. That is growth. If you've been judging yourself for repeating a lesson, try this instead. You're practicing, you're learning how to be you in a world that often rewards pretending. And if you're carrying shame, I want you to know this. Shame is heavy, but it is not wise. Shame doesn't guide you toward your next step. Shame only tries to make you smaller, and you were not made to shrink. You were made to expand into your own life. So here is another truth line, simple and steady. I do not need shame to change. You can choose change from love. You can choose change from clarity. You can choose change because you deserve a life that feels honest. Sometimes people think a gentle path means you won't get anywhere, but gentleness is not the absence of movement. Gentleness is the presence of care. Gentleness says, I will go forward and I will take myself with me. If you want a new way to measure progress, try measuring it in quiet units. The number of times you return to yourself, the number of times you spoke kindly instead of cruelly, the number of times you chose what was true over what was fast, the number of times you rested without apology, the number of times you took one small action anyway. That is a life. That is a person becoming. And because you are human, there will still be days when you feel behind. On those days, don't make it a problem. Make it a signal that you need tenderness, not pressure. A signal that you need to come closer to yourself, not farther away. Here is a gentle question to carry. What do I need right now to feel more supported? Support can be a glass of water. Support can be stepping outside for one breath of air. Support can be turning down the volume on other people's expectations. Support can be writing one honest sentence. Support can be asking for help. Support can be allowing yourself to not know. And if you want a few permission slips, here they are. Soft, simple, real. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to start over. You are allowed to take the scenic route. You are allowed to be uncertain and still move. You are allowed to want more and still be grateful for now. There is another metaphor I want to offer you, different from the tide. Think of your life like a lantern you carry through a long hallway. The lantern doesn't light the entire building. It only lights the next few steps, and that is enough. You don't need the whole map to be valid. You only need the next honest step. When you demand total certainty before you move, you can end up frozen. But when you allow the lantern to do its job, you keep going. You keep meeting yourself. You keep arriving. So if you're looking at someone else's bright daylight and feeling small in your own hallway, remember, you're not in the same building. You're not in the same chapter. Your light is not less because it is close. I welcome the next step, not the whole staircase. Now let's talk about timing in a way that feels true, not poetic for the sake of it. Some things in life require you to become a certain version of yourself before they can fit. Not because you're being punished, simply because you will hold them better, choose them wiser. You might be learning to speak up. You might be learning to say no. You might be learning to stop chasing what doesn't meet you. You might be learning to value your peace. You might be learning to trust your own judgment. Those are not delays. Those are routes. And sometimes the thing you call behind is actually protection. It is you not repeating an old story. It is you not entering a door that would have cost you too much. It is you taking the time to become stable enough to receive what you want without losing yourself. My love, you are not wasting time when you are becoming whole. Here is another vow, quiet and strong. I will not confuse speed with success. Success is not only what you achieve, success is also who you become while you achieve it. Success is integrity. Success is peace. Success is the ability to look at your own life without flinching. You can be ambitious and still be kind. You can be hopeful and still be patient. You can be in motion and still be gentle. And if you catch yourself thinking, but what if I really did fall behind? Answer it with honesty. Maybe there are steps you've postponed. Maybe you do want to begin something you've been afraid to begin. You can honor that truth without turning it into self-hate. You can say, I'm ready to take one step without saying, I'm a failure. You can say, I want a different life without saying, I've ruined my life. You can say, I'm learning without saying, I'm late. Your language matters because you live inside it. So choose language that feels like a hand, not a whip. I release the belief that my value is measured by speed. Now, another micro recap so your mind can stay anchored. You are releasing the scoreboard, loosening the comparison lens, returning to the present, honoring slow growth, choosing supportive language, and making a vow to stay on your own side. That is the work. That is the way. And when you forget, and you will sometimes forget, you can return again. Returning is the practice. Returning is the proof that you love yourself enough to come back. I am allowed to grow at my own pace. Let that be your anchor as you step back into your day or into your sleep. Not a demand, not a rush, not a test, just a gentle truth you can live inside. And if your mind keeps asking for proof, give it gentle proof. One small action you can do today, something you can finish in 10 minutes, a message, a page, a walk to the window, a meal that cares for you. Let completion, not perfection, rebuild your trust. Say this softly, like a promise you mean. I can start where I am. You don't have to be fearless, you only have to be willing. May you feel your own timing as a friend. May you feel your heart walking beside you, not chasing you. And may you remember, you are already enough. So tonight, or this morning, or right now, whenever these words find you, let it be enough to simply return to yourself, not with pressure, not with a performance, with love. You are right on time, right where you are.